noon yesterday is when I started putting this together. So I may not have added your question to it, so you don't see it. You'll have time at the end to ask questions. We'll also get the recordings out tomorrow along with links to the slideshow. So if you want to take notes, you certainly can, but you don't have to. You'll have access to all this tomorrow. So we'll start off here. Thanks for joining us. Again, you've seen those dates, and I would just add that the school board meeting on November 12th is an important meeting, and we don't know what will come out of that in terms of whether or not the timeline will change one way or the other. But as of now, this is the best information we have, and so we're moving forward with these dates, and if school board makes changes, we'll certainly adjust as they tell us. And then we extended the intent. Again, you've already completed the intent form in the summer. This is a chance to revise it. We did not send out a new form. We're just asking that you contact us here at school. So you only need to if you're going to make a change, that's the only reason to contact us. If your intent is staying the same from that July form, you do not need to contact us. And we extended that deadline to Monday. We'll send information out tomorrow, but just so you know, we're closing our office on Tuesday. We are a polling place and expect a large turnout. So the office will be closed on Tuesday. So just make sure you give us a call or email by Monday to change your preference if you need it. So quickly, just go through the two options that you have. One is the 100% online program. So that's currently what we're doing, 4 days a week. Excuse me. Same daily schedule. Again, all subjects, those synchronous lessons mixed in with some independent work. So that online option looks, very similar to what we're doing currently. Next, then, the other choice you have is the in-person program. Again, it will be 4 days a week. The students will be in person 2 days a week, either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, Friday. That is a switch from the summer plans. The summer plans had students in, I think, Tuesday and Thursday, and then Wednesday, Friday. So right now they're back to back on the days that they come. Again, we're going to move that virtual schedule that's occurring now to our building in terms of content blocks, in terms of lunch breaks. They're going to be almost the exact same as the current schedule that we have now. At this point, we will be asking kids to bring their laptops to school. Before March 13th last year, we certainly used the computers in school, but we do want to emphasize when they're in person, that they're getting attention from the teacher. We want to limit the amount the computer is used when they're here in person, but they will need it here for different activities, so we need to make sure that it is here. Oops, I'm also letting people into the meeting. All right. So next, a good time to answer some questions that came up. So, the classes, will they be reassigned so students who are doing all virtual learning are grouped together, or will they be using the concurrent model from their current teacher? If so, when will parents be notified of the change? So our primary objective is to deliver the best instruction possible. And we feel like the best way to do that is to deliver a strong virtual environment and a strong in-person environment. And so the downside to that, as I mentioned in July and August when we had some of these sessions, is that when we got to this point, it could result in the changing of classes for students. So that may occur. Those are the dates there, as we will dig into the preference decisions on Tuesday. And we'll let kindergarten know by the 9th, first and second grade by the 16th, and third and sixth grade by the 7th. We may be able to speed up those timelines, but I don't want to, give an earlier date and be late with information. So those are when we're planning to notify you if your child, a child has a new class. So next, will children in person have the ability to move to concurrent if their circumstances change? what options will there be for kids who will be doing concurrent all 4 days. So any movement between our virtual instruction classes and our in-person classes will be dependent upon space. So we're bound by FCPS and VDOE class caps. So kindergarten's at 28 and grades 1 through 6 is 29. So it's not a hard no. If we have space at your grade level in where you want to move to, we'll certainly work with you to do that. But if we're running up against the cap and we don't have space, then we're not going to be able to move students. I want to show you an example here. So this is just one example. You know, if we have a grade level with 4 teachers and we have 40 virtual students and 58 in-person students, you know, that would break down to 2 classes of each. The teachers of the virtual students would have classes of 20 students, whereas our in-person students would be up to 29. So you can see there, if that example was reality, you know, students in the in-person setting, if they wanted to move to virtual, we have plenty of room, whereas we're up against the cap in that scenario. So we would not be able to move or accommodate any request from the virtual to the in-person setting until some space is opened up there. So I just wanted to give that example. I saw Dr. Pajardo came into the meeting. So since we're talking a little bit about numbers and staffing, let's pause there. Dr. Pajardo, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello. Oops, hang on.
You're good. We can hear you.
Okay, great. Hello, Mr. Smith, and hello, Daniels Run community. Thank you for joining this informational session tonight. And I've certainly talked to Mr. Smith. I think he and his admin team have a good plan for your students. And the City of Fairfax Schools is here to support that plan and to make sure that all goes as well as possible. So thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, Dr. Pajardo. All right, next, our in-person program. We talked a little bit about this on the video, so just know that all parents will have to complete the health screening form. That's a one-time form. Again, very similar if you've been to the doctor's office or dentist office lately, where you're, you know, filling out and doing the check marks on making sure that your child doesn't have a fever or a sore throat, things like that. We're doing daily temperature checks. You know, enforcing social distancing. There's sanitization efforts. The building is cleaned. We have new protocols since July in terms of cleaning, especially when kids are back. We have a solution called Virex, which does kill the virus. And so we have, when students are out of the building right now, our preschool students, when they're out at recess, we're doing a cleaning of the room, and the same with our enhanced autism students. And same with the bathrooms during the day. Emphasizing washing hands, wearing masks, and we do have designated isolation rooms. So if a child has the COVID-like symptoms, such as a fever or a new sore throat, for instance, they would move to that room. Me, Mr. Parker, or Mrs. Hine are the ones that get to hang out there with them until you come pick them up, and then they will need a medical note or a proof of a negative test to come back. So if you take them to the doctor and they say it was strep throat and they're good to come back in a few days, you know, we would need that documentation. They might say they've evaluated them and there's no concerns. We just need documentation that they've been seen by a doctor. Excuse me, concurrent instruction. So when are we going to use this? So it's going to be used in our in-person program. And again, Monday will be a work day, independent work day, and that's going to be for everybody at every grade level. So Monday becomes a work day across the board, whether you're in the in-person program or the online program. You see there that we'll break students up into two groups, as we said, that broken up by alphabet to start for organization. Again, if you have a specific request, you can make a request to switch, but again, we'll have to make sure that we have the room in classes, because not only do we have to follow cap sizes, we also now have limits on how many students can fit into a classroom. So we have, I know in kindergarten, and I left my sheet at home, but I feel like our kindergarten rooms, they're kind of on the big side. So some of them had a max of 17, but that includes kids and adults. So in kindergarten, we have an IA and a teacher, which means at the most we can fit in 15 students. So again, we want to accommodate you as best we can, but if we're running it up against limits in terms of space due to social distancing, we may not be able to. So our A through K students will be back in school on Tuesday and Wednesday. And on those days, our L through Z students in the class will be online. And then they will flip-flop Thursday and Friday. The big difference here, and let me show you again this picture, and you see the, a more traditional method of teaching, or at least setting up the classroom, right? There will be desks, they'll be 6 feet apart, all facing the same way. And at the same time, you'll have some students joining in using Google Meet that are in the class, but it is not their day to be in person. So the questions came up about how the teacher manages these items in terms of dealing with kids in the classroom and also online, and some examples of how teachers will be delivering instruction equally for 4 days. So I want to show you this chart. This is new. I did not have this in the video, but if you're choosing in person, we're going to most likely be starting down in this initiating and performing area, and we want to move up into the sustaining. So our teachers, certainly we can have morning meeting with all the students, right? So both the in-person students and the students at home can join via Google Meet. We can definitely deliver focus lessons at the beginning of language arts and math and social studies or science to all the students. And then at that time, for the rest of the block, they may give students online independent work, have a chance to check in with them as well. But the focus is going to be on the in-person students. And then as we get better at this, you see that in the far right, we're integrating more seamlessly both the online students and the in-person students together, where you may have teacher may be working with a small group, may have some kids who are online using Google Meet in a reading group, along with a couple kids in the classroom as well. So, I should have said it at the top. My job, again, I think our job is not to convince you, it's just trying to give you all the information and make sure that we're clear on expectations. This is another new way of our teachers to teach. They've done a phenomenal job, rolling out the 100% virtual instruction. And if we said at this time last year that this is the situation we'd be in, I think we'd be amazed at what everyone, both families and students and teachers, have been able to pull off. So this is another new challenge, but I'm confident that our staff will be able to quickly meet the challenges of this and very quickly get into that fluent and sustaining stage after a number of weeks. So these are some questions that were submitted, so I'll go through those, and then we will open it up to other questions here. So will students be attending Tuesday and Wednesday or Thursday and Friday? That's a yes. And you see the split again, A through K and L through Z for those two groups if you select in person. If a teacher receives an ADA accommodation and is teaching from home while students are in school with an attendant, will parents receive this information prior to their decisions needing to be confirmed? So the good news of how we're doing this won't be an issue here at our school, because we have separated out the 100% virtual students. They'll be with teachers who may be teaching virtually, or they may come into the school and teach from the classroom. But since we've gone with this model, this will not be an issue here at our school. If you're choosing in person, there will be an in-person teacher that they are with. Will there be a final decision regarding concurrent versus asynchronous model? And so again, that's a big change back to the idea of concurrent. Over the summer, if you chose in person, when you weren't in school, it was going to be a fully asynchronous day. And so now the big change is you have access to your teacher, through the course of the day. Certainly times, again, where that teacher is going to give those students online some independent work, but you have more access than you had if it was just a 7.5 hour asynchronous day. So again, Mondays are going to be asynchronous, and we're going to send out specific communication to each grade level as this gets closer. But just so you know, this past Monday was the last Monday where that Monday schedule looks the same across the board for all kids. So kindergarten becomes asynchronous Monday. Now I know that's a student holiday, but I put that in there. So starting November 2nd, kindergarten students will have fully asynchronous days every Monday. If you're a parent of grades 1 through 2, that will start on November 15th when your fully asynchronous Mondays occur. And then grades through 6, it's December 7th is when they become fully asynchronous. So again, we'll send more specific communication out. And the reason for this is give teachers some planning time ahead of the phase-in of their student group. And again, these dates could change, right, depending on the school board. So in-person instruction, students, again, will not be asynchronous. They'll be able to participate in their class through Google Meets on days when they are virtual. Will the start time change now or as additional children return to school, as was the initial plan? So as of now, our start time is not changing. However, we have been told as groups come back that can change. Specifically, that last group of students, to be honest, I get a little confused with the group numbers, but I know it's the high school group, the 7th through 12th graders. They're due back, I believe, in February as of now. So when that group comes back, it is possible that our start time could change. So we'll keep you posted of that and certainly do our best to advocate for no changes, but considering the amount of students that will be taking buses and they need to socially distance on the bus as well, that is certainly a transportation challenge. If a student is in person but is ill, will they be allowed to attend virtually for the day or days they are tied up to it? And that's yes. They can certainly attend virtually. So a number of questions about specials. How will they take place? Will they be streaming in the classroom? Will they go to a specials classroom or stay in the same classroom? So 100% virtual students, your specials will look exactly the same. You'll be on the computer, logging into your Google Meet and accessing your specials teacher. If you're in person, teachers will come to the classroom. Some students will be online, right? So if it's a Tuesday, the kids in the class that are in that L to Z category would be accessing that special through the Google Meet. We may phase in traveling to locations starting with PE. So that's our next slide here. With PE, we're going to start out with it in the classroom. We want to keep things as simple and successful as possible, but that would be the first group that we would try to transition. And the main reason is that the gym is a bigger space. You know, an art classroom is the same space as a regular classroom. So we can certainly have art in the classroom. Music can also be in a classroom. Our Spanish teachers already go in and teach in the classrooms in a normal setting, but we will try to transition PE out. We just want to make sure we can do that safely. And so again, to start out, it will be in the classroom. So screen breaks. So again, our emphasis when we're in person is to use the computers as little as possible. There will certainly be some use, just like there was before all this occurred. But we are going to take the same breaks. Again, students can move around the room, they can stretch, use the restroom. If the teachers are close enough to exits, you know, certainly a brief walk outside, we would encourage. If students do take mass breaks, they need to keep at least 6 feet apart, and they need to tell an adult that they're taking a mass break and just making sure that they're keeping that social distance. Our goal is to do both, keep masks on and also keep our distance from each other, but we realize, you know, all of us need some breaks during the day to take the mask off. So recess, again, this was a popular question. So what does recess look like? Does every class still go out and use the same playground? So first thing is at this time, we're not able to use playground equipment. We are hopeful to get some further guidance on that, but right now, until we do, we're not able to use playground equipment. The expectation is to wear the mask as frequently as possible. And again, if they're not going to wear it, they need to be can't be within 10 feet of anyone else. This how will the 6-foot rule be enforced while outside at recess? Again, we'll do our best to develop games and activities. We have a long list of activities that were developed when our preschool enhanced autism kids came back. So we'll start working also with our PE teachers and our kindergarten teachers to start figuring out what we think off that list looks best and purchasing any materials, supplies, things that we need of that nature to make sure that's successful. This I just added in. It was another slide that was given to us by the county about recess. And again, we'll have recess. So we're going to keep students and we're going to keep classes separate. So we feel like we can separate the areas outside. The field can be divided into 2 areas for 2 spaces. We're going to use the field beyond the bridge in the back. There's another large field back there that we tend not to use, but in this circumstance to keep kids spread out, that's another field that can be separated into 2. And we have the 2 blacktop areas as well. So that gives us a number of spaces to send kids out. Our indoor, just like today on a rainy day, we'd have to stay in the classrooms. Again, we'll work on some activities that will occur in the class because, traditionally playing a board game, you're usually within 6 feet of people, right? So we'll develop some other activities for them to do within the indoor, and we may at that time also utilize the gym so kids get to run around and not be in their physical classroom all day long. So I just want to show you an example. Again, this is when everybody comes back, but what we can do during that hour recess, recess/lunch break is a few grade levels can go out. So again, even though we have a reduced capacity, we're still not going to send, a normal recess, you might have 200 kids out there, depending on which grade levels are out there at the same time using the field and the playground. So we're going to separate it into K through 2. When K 1 and 2 come back and they're the only ones in the building, we can further separate that. Maybe just send K out first and then 1st and 2nd at another time. And then lunch, and again, lunch will be in the classrooms. We will get right now, food's being delivered to the classrooms. Did have a question about when hot lunches would resume, and I have sent that on to our cafeteria supervisor to get us an update on when hot lunch will return as well. In-person option, when students are in the classroom, will the teacher be able to walk around? So yes, teacher will be able to walk around. I had typed in yesterday that we're providing a microphone. We just got 5 cameras today that have a microphone, and our Lawrence and our T-Spec Caleb are working up setting a model classroom and making sure that equipment works. And if not, we will order some microphones. So I'm going to go back and get some more folks here. Thanks for joining us. So they'll be able to move around. Certainly, again, we want to make sure that we keep our space, that 6 feet space, as much as we can, and also recognize that, at times we're going to be close to kids in a classroom. Small groups, and so teachers will continue to work with small groups, again, following the safety protocols of social distancing and masks. Homeroom teachers have additional staff. So this was portrayed in the video. We do not have extra staff. My understanding is a few schools did this, and they devoted, for instance, their reading teacher to be with one teacher, every day for the entire year, which is awesome for that one class. but our reading teachers help all the teachers. They help many students, and so we did not do that. I personally don't think that's the best use of our resource teachers. Kindergarten, just so you know, does have IAs, so each kindergarten class does have 2 adults in it. And our resource teachers and IAs support multiple classes and groups of students. PPE, will teachers and students in all classrooms be provided? So students, we have 1 mask. Somebody asked what it was. Mine is at school. I apologize. It is not a disposable mask. I have a number of masks, and it's probably my best mask that I have. So if anybody, I know Beth, I see Beth, but it's a blue FCPS mask, just like similar to what we have as the adults in the building. Teachers are provided with masks, face shield, gloves. Other items are optional depending on the groups of students they work with. And all classrooms have hand sanitizer. They will have access to the Virex. The teachers will have access to a spray bottle of the Virex. So if there is, a student who sneezes on a desk or something like that, we can spray the Virex on. It does take 10 minutes to kill the virus. So we'll move the student to a different area of the room while that gets cleaned up. But we do have that for the teachers as well. In-person students have computers and ability to utilize Google Meet to connect with their peers. So as we said, we want them to bring a charged laptop daily. There was a question in the earlier session about laptop cases. We are not an official FCPS on school yet. So if you have children at Lanier or at Fairfax, they were probably given a laptop case because they're part of the FCPS on program. We are not, so we're looking into purchasing some cases for our students, and so we may provide those because we realize we don't want them, especially on a day like today, right, walking around with pouring down rain and their laptops exposed. Our goal will be to limit the use of technology in person, but we also recognize, kids were using technology again before March 13th, right? So certainly, like for instance, when a teacher's doing a class meeting, the kids in person are going to be getting that class meeting from the teacher themselves, right? Not logging into Google Meet to participate in the class meeting. And there will be opportunities certainly at lunch to invite the Google Meet for the kids at home to stay in the Google Meet so they can interact with the kids in the class, again, during class meetings. So there will be some opportunities for the online kids to connect with the virtual classmates to connect with their in-person classmates as well. Children doing home, all 4 days will the current family choice time become time that all students get to participate in. At this time, our schedule will not change, but we will look for additional opportunities for students during family choice time, especially as our Mondays transition to completely asynchronous. We may need to use that last hour to add some of the things in that we had been doing on Mondays and have teachers working with some smaller groups of kids, possibly during that time. That will involve more students than currently during that family choice time in the afternoon. Question about counselors. So counselors will be assisting both in-person and virtual students. So we're lucky that we have both our counselors, and that's it. I'm not going to go, the rest of the slides I put in as reference. So again, we're going to share those tomorrow. Depending on your questions, we may refer to them, but I just want you to know, I'm going to just quickly flip through them so you see what's there from a reference standpoint, but some more information about cleaning protocols. If you've watched the school board meetings, a lot of these slides have been displayed there. Information about the health screening form, temperature checks, bus information. I do want to mention at the bus in the morning, it is expected that there is at least someone of middle school age or higher at the bus stop every morning, so that if your student does have a temperature and can't get on the bus, there's someone there to get them back to the residence. So that is a expectation on the bus. hand washings, information about supplies. We'll send more specific information out about supplies as we get better organized to those in-person families. Responses to COVID cases, and some links about how-to links and some FCPS links. So a lot of stuff there. I'm going to go ahead and open the chat. And if you want to put in a question in the chat, you can do that. If you want to ask verbally, if you could put 2 question marks in verbally, then I'll get to you verbally. So, does our decision for 100% online have an impact on the likelihood for our students, teachers changing? If they're so, sorry, I'm going down the chat there. Is there any way to use that knowledge to? So I really don't. Unfortunately, this is the chicken and egg question, right? I could, if I say, I could tell you what the plans were for July, but I feel like I'm going to mislead you if we end up needing more. Oops, it sounds like someone. You guys can mute there for me. It's going to be solely dependent on the preferences, right? So if we have a class that's 50-50, then we'll have to have teachers split up 50-50. If that changes and 3/4 of a class switch to an online environment, again, that may switch from what we were planning over the summer. So what I can tell you is, we have very few teachers who have requested a tier 1 accommodation. Certainly teachers have their preferences, and almost every teacher that I talked to over the summer and leading into the school year, we certainly talked about preferences, and they all usually left saying, we'll certainly do whatever's needed for the students. So, this is the downside. I realize strong connections have been made, but I really, I don't have any idea if an entire grade level goes all virtual, then all the teachers will be teaching virtual and vice versa. So until we get those preferences, and I know that's frustrating. For in-person kindergarten students participating from home during their 2 online days. So again, I wouldn't say it's an asynchronous activity block. Like our language arts block is an hour. A focus lesson tends to be about 10 or 15 minutes. I know we have some teachers that have joined our session. So if you guys want to chime in as well, if you feel like I'm not speaking correctly. So then, maybe for the next 40 minutes or so, they may be given, again, at the beginning of this, as this phases in, a independent activity. And so, again, as we get more polished at this, we'll be able to bring that group, mix that group more seamlessly than at the beginning. In addition to the filter upgrades that we, so I see a question. I don't see the rest of that question. They will eat snacks in the classroom, and 12:25. We can certainly look at that. I was thinking the kindergarten kids want to get out to recess, but we can certainly work with our kindergarten team and switch that around if needed. To make them okay, yes, and our traditionally that's a great idea, thank you. Students are given classroom jobs anyway, but we might have new jobs now that we're eating in the classroom, so that's a good idea. Thank you. Brian, if the state's positivity rate goes about 5%, does everyone go back to virtual? So I must admit, I have really been focusing in on Daniel's run and how to make this work. I have not paid a whole lot of attention to the metrics and what reverts us back. Dr. Pajardo, hate to put you on the spot, but do you have any insight there? And Brian, I will get you a better answer. I know the answer's there. I just haven't dug that deeply into it.
So thank you, Mr. Smith. The metrics is the health metrics. What I know, not of the positivity rate, but I do know that Fairfax County Public Schools has given indication of if there is more than one positive COVID case in the school itself, then the school would revert to virtual. If there is a positive case in a classroom, then the classroom goes to virtual for the days, but that is connected to the positive COVID cases, not to the positivity rate. So I would have to look more closely at that along with Mr. Smith.
Hey, Michael, I'm going to put you on the spot. Can you do me a favor and just create a either email or Word document for questions that we need to get back to people? You guys are asking some stumpers. I didn't have any stumpers this morning. That's good. That's good. It makes us better here. Robert, we're going to go to you because you wanted to ask your question verbally.
Yes, we have two children. One's in first grade, one is in sixth grade. And our first grader, we had taken her out of school. We've been homeschooling her. And we want to bring her back to school, but we were thinking to do so when her brother, the sixth grader, goes back to school. If we chose to wait until that point to re-enroll her in school, would we still have the option to choose between virtual versus in class?
So Robert, you do, as long as we have space in the option that you want. So again, as long as I'm not up against that hard cap number, I think you said first grade, as long as there's space in the virtual setting or the in-person setting, then you can certainly do that. If we're capped out at, let's say we have 2 first grade classes in person and they're both at 29, I don't have any space. So we'd have to revert back to the other one. So it's not a definite yes or definite no. We certainly want to work with you and make that happen. But I also want to make sure you know what we're up against possibly.
Okay, and let's say we were to re-enroll her before November 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
She was previously scheduled to be, in class. Would she still have that same priority? Or did she go to the end of the line now?
Yes. If you can get us, if you decide to do that, before Monday, we can certainly probably better meet that priority than we could if it's later.
Okay, and to re-enroll, do we just call Daniels Run, or do we have to call somebody else?
Yeah, nope. You just call us, ask for Araceli Nunez, and they'll be able to help you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, and Robert, if that ends up being your attention, actually send her an email as well, and include me on it so we have that information.
Okay.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Megan, I don't have an answer for you. So Michael, can you write this one down about the crossing guards? I don't think Dr. Bajardo.
Yes. Yes, so I do know, I was just in email communication with the director of safety and security and our police regarding crossing guards coming back. What we have to look at is how soon that will occur, since we are still in the phasing in of students returning. So we are working on that date.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Brian, so absolutely okay if he's supposed to be in person, but you have an appointment or something to do virtual. What I would say on this is that we would he would just lose that in-person day, right? Like we probably can't make up that in-person day for him later in the week. Again, if we're coming up against caps. Christina, her teacher. So what I would say here is the best practice they've told us is to have kids in an all virtual setting or in a in-person setting. So we made the decision. I think the strongest instructional program for Daniels Run is to do just that. Again, the downside is that we may have to move some students, but I feel like, certainly in a few weeks, our teachers will have their new classes up to speed. So that is a choice that other schools are putting all the kids keeping classes the same, and they are putting, those Group C kids, the 100% virtual kids, in with the kids that are in person. I think that's an extremely tough ask of our teachers, and I think that we'll be able to do it much better when we see. Right now, when we do this, your kid, if your child's in person, right, they're going to get that attention definitely 2 days a week, and we'll be working to build that online community. I think it right now really just weakens our virtual experience by going that route, but that's a choice we made here at our school. It took quite a while and a lot of thought, and that's where we are. So, Carolyn, is that a question? Would you like to ask a question? All right, Carolyn, chime in if you would. Virtual day, and so again, technically speaking, our virtual day is 9 o'clock to 3:45, right? That last hour or so of the day is family choice time, and there are a number of students working with small groups that are going on. So those are the hours for our school. Certainly if the child isn't working with a small group after 2:35, technically they should be doing some family choice time, but I realize many students are taking advantage of that time as well. They should to maybe get outside, but those are our hours. 9 o'clock is the start time for our day for instruction, but 8:45 is when our building opens and when buses let off. Policy when a teacher or student has COVID or getting COVID testing. What is the policy when a teacher or student has COVID or is getting? Okay, let me show you. I think Dr. Bajardo talked a little bit about this. I'll go back to this slide. So if there's one COVID case in the classroom will transition to 100% virtual for up to 14 days. The school health team will support the contact tracing process in the school. If individuals are identified during the contact tracing, they'll receive notification. Cleaning, disinfecting, students and staff in the cohort will be notified as to when they will return in person. Length of time is 14 days, could be shorter based on the investigation that the health department does. If there are multiple cases at school, again, we'll work with the health department to make a determination of whether or not to close the school. There'll be communication to the community about this, and all students will be transitioned to a distance learning for a period of time, and we'll, of course, continue to communicate with you as those results come back. So that's what it looks like for one case or multiple cases. Any concern about starting first and second graders beginning in person on November 30th, right after people may be returning from Thanksgiving trips? It's going to be a request for people to not travel. Not making any requests. They'll actually start December 1st, so it's actually that Tuesday, because Mondays will be asynchronous. We keep using the week of dates, but it's actually Tuesday. So we will handle it like we normally do. I don't have a say in when they return, so the school, Dr. Brabrand and the school board has agreed on that date. Again, it is a tentative date based on that November 12th school board meeting. Are parents able to volunteer and help in the school during in-person classes? So right now the answer is no. We are limiting as much interaction as we can. So right now the answer is no, and if things will change, we certainly welcome the assistance that we get. We had talked about, probably not even doing physical Thursday folders, working with the grade level teachers as they have to continue the communication that they've been doing electronically. Our subs, right now, because we're again staffing these two different areas here, if we need a sub for less than 2 days, we'll revert to the county policy, which is the kids will be asynchronous. We will try to fill it in-house if we can, so that the kids don't have to go asynchronous when the entire, in this current 100% virtual setting that we're in, we were able to put some resource people or IAs in with grade levels to help the entire grade level out. So we'll certainly try to fill it in-house first. If we can't, it may become an asynchronous day for students. And beginning on the third day, we can have a sub, request a sub to work with the class. At this point, we chose 100% virtual. However, later on, can we switch? So again, as long as there's space, we definitely want to work with you. So again, as long as we're not up against the cap of a class, again, 29 in most classes, 28 in kindergarten, we certainly want to work with you and make that change. Current state of ventilation and air filtration inside the school building and classrooms. I don't think, did Diego leave us, Phyllis? I think Diego left us, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. I do have an answer for that one, and I don't have it handy. So let me, I sent this out to some parents before. Michael, if you can write that one down, I will add it to, so I'll add the ones that I can get an answer to for tomorrow morning. I'll add to my email message tomorrow. I know that our head of facilities, that they've gone around, checked this. This is some work we actually had done thanks to the city of Fairfax last summer, not this past summer, the summer before, was an upgrade in our filtration system. So I have an answer for that from both the city and the county that I will get to you. Yeah, so we'll work on that. We'll have, just like we have space in the cafeteria, if there's food allergies, we'll certainly work to make sure that that's separate and make sure everybody's in the classroom is aware of what that is. So we'll, you know, we have that. We should have that on file. If you are planning to be in person and you don't have that information on file, certainly let us know so we can make plans for that class and make sure that everyone knows to keep everyone safe. So virtual classes will always be asynchronous, and so that is not the case. So I want to make sure if you choose 100% virtual, you're not going to see really much change, right? You're going to, other than, and it's, you know, I'm not being dismissive. It's important to know that the teacher may change, but the day, the schedule, what's being done is not going to change. If you choose in person, you will be in person 2 days a week. When you are virtual, you will have access to the teacher, but you will also be getting independent work. And at the beginning, you may see a bit more of that independent work as we navigate that new system of teaching, and then we'll quickly get up to speed so that those kids are integrated on a more regular basis. Have you seen students with a medical exemption for wearing a mask yet? Will parents be notified? So Maureen, we have not had a medical exemption yet. And again, the good thing is you guys are asking questions that I know there's answers to. I just haven't dug in on it. So that's another one that I know I can very easily find an answer to and include in tomorrow's email. There is a specific policy on that. So Brenda, you had a question?
Hi, thank you. I was disappointed to hear that the kids' teachers are most likely going to change. My daughter is 100% virtual, and of course, we are having a wonderful year. Our teacher is fantastic, and my concern is that will there be a transition plan if my daughter ends up having to have a different teacher? Will there be a transition plan that sort of like we started off in the beginning of the year where the teacher had a virtual visit so that they could get to know each other? Will there be that type of thing? And will there be an opportunity for her current teacher to speak with her new teacher to share information and knowledge about each of the students?
So yes to all of it. I do want to preface that for our kindergarten parents, again, I just want to be realistic about time. The kindergarten timeline is very tight, right? I want to go back to just to help me with dates, because there's a lot of dates floating around. So our kindergarten, we'll finalize classes by the 9th. And again, if you're a kindergarten parent, feel free to write this down, but we're also going to send this in specific communication to our kindergarten parents. Later that week, the 12th and the 13th have also been designated asynchronous days for teachers to get ready for that return. So we don't have a whole lot of time with kindergarten, so we certainly will work on a virtual transition in terms of the teacher getting some FaceTime through Google Meet with their teacher, and then we'll see with the other grade levels if we can arrange a physical visit to the school, but at the very least, we'll certainly do some transition things virtually through Google Meet so we can connect the students with a new teacher when that occurs. The other question was, sorry, I lost track. Can you ask it again? There was a second part to that, Brenda.
Yeah, no problem. I wrote it
You
down.
forgot
But
too.
yeah, so the kids teachers will most likely change. I was wondering about and you answered the transition plan. And I was also wondering about if the students have already had a 504, an IEP, will they then have to do another one in January, or will it be in existence for the whole school year?
Yeah, it should be existence. If things change, any accommodations or hours or things, certainly we would change that. But you also asked about teachers, connecting with other teachers, right? So they could give them any, they're going to give them any, assessment information, right? Anything that they know about the child to make that transition a lot smoother, right? So we'll certainly set up time for that to occur.
Okay.
So, and part the reason why we're going to have these, the school board has given us some of these days in asynchronous. I know it's it's not easy at home. I totally understand that, but in order to get this up and running, we do need to have some time to do these things.
Oh, and like I said, I mean, honestly, it's been a wonderful experience with our teacher. And so we will be heartbroken if we, don't get to keep her
Yes, no,
as our daughter's teacher. So, and I'm sure whoever we get will be lovely and will be wonderful, but you don't want to lose what you got when what you got is really awesome. So,
well, make sure you tell that teacher that, whoever's that.
Oh, she already knows.
Send her an email. Yeah, and I would just say, look, again, it is Michael will tell you, we lamented for days here on where to go with this, but I do think ultimately it provides the strongest instructional model for an experience for both sets of kids. And, in these meetings in July and August, there was a lot of apprehension about virtual learning, right? As well there should be, right? And so, I think there's a lot of positivity about it, right? So now we're, we do have great staff. I'm know that they're going to do a great job in terms of adapting to the in-person learning that will go on.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. I'm trying to find my space. Sorry, I lost it. There we go. Okay, the maximum number of students in an in-person class. So it depends on, they took our square footage, and facilities came up with a number that is the max occupancy in that room. So again, off the top of my head, I apologize, I didn't bring my maps home, but I know in our kindergarten, most of our kindergarten rooms, which are bigger, the number is 17. Michael, I feel like most rooms are kind of between 15 and 17, right? I see your head. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say 15 to 18.
Now that's pretty tight. That's, teachers, I talked to a teacher the other day. I said, those bookshelves, we're probably have to take them out, right? There's a lot of stuff that we're used to having in rooms that are going to have to come out. So that will be the max number that we can safely fit in with social distancing. So it really depends on each classroom, how big that's going to be. And then of course the preferences. So It sounds like in-person classes will be capped at 29. That's right, Megan. And so, yeah, whether it's an in-person class or a virtual class, we have to stay within those state caps. So that will be the same as well. Are the classrooms so big they can fit 29 students? Nope. So again, we have a map that tells us how many maximum adults can fit into a room, which is why we have to split up the students over the course of 4 days. We can't bring everyone back that wants to do in person for 4 days a week. We have Kiss and Ride. Yep. So Kiss and Ride will be up and running. And so we use that entrance to, if you're new to our school, you'll want to come to entrance 2 is where Kiss and Ride is. And we'll certainly send, this is a lot of information we usually send out in August, and we'll get that all geared up and get it out to the students and parents as they phase in. If you are one kid going back, one kid still virtual, is it okay if she logs in late during drop-off days? Yeah, just Gail, communicate with your teacher about that. It should be fine. Yeah, just make sure you communicate with the teacher, because we certainly understand some that may happen. If we, Christina, so in answer to your question, we will not switch classes officially until the day that students come back. So like for kindergarten, the first day of that new classes, even though we'll try to set up some transition time ahead of time in terms of meeting them, it will not go into effect until the first day that students come. Now, once they're here and we've set up those classes, and we end up going virtual again because of health metrics, those classes will stay. There won't be a third change, back to like their original teacher. So if 3rd through 6th never come back in the building, then we won't make that change. Hopefully that answers that question. Let me know if it doesn't. How many kiddos' desks can fit within the particular classroom, and that needs to be, or how many in the kinder classrooms? I think we've answered that right. I know in our kinder classrooms it's 17. Again, that's the capacity including adults. So it'd be 2 adults, teacher and IA, with 15 children. Preventing the concurrent virtual learners to be fully integrated with those students in class with lack of streaming technology, or is it based on how the curriculum will be set up? No, it's based on, I think it's a heavy lift for our I think it diminishes our virtual program. I think our virtual program is strong, and I think the students whoever chooses to be virtual should see a limited interruption into their day. And I think it's going to take, the concurrent teaching is a new way of teaching. I think what is reassuring to me is that if I'm going to see all of the kids in my class in person, I'm going to be able to do a lot of small, smaller group instruction with them, because it's going to be a rather small group, right? It's only going to be at max maybe 13, 14 kids in a class. And so I'm going to be able to do get a lot of face time with my students, which is the best way to learn. So I think it's very difficult for our teachers to try to meet the needs of 3 different groups of kids. Again, many schools, it's pretty much split. Some schools are not changing classes, other schools are. We don't have I wish there was a roadmap or some firm guidance. And I really just think it's a way for us to set up 2 strong instructional programs. If children are switching to new teachers, how will it affect their grades since in the middle or quarter time to adjust? So we are, we're being very generous in grading to begin with across the county. And certainly that communication, again, we'll take time to make sure that teachers communicate with the other teacher about where that child is. And so we'll make sure that they're, all that information's passed along, and I don't anticipate any issue with grading. Our teams work very good together. Many of our teachers probably already know by, some of the students, just as they review data and things like that. Are there any talks about the PTA doing any other social distance activities for school? Thank you, Jeanette. I actually have updated guidance, and I've just been really focused the past couple of days on this decision and getting information out to you. So I think I saw Lacey in the call. I will do my best to get that guidance out to Lacey. There is some updated information that we got, and I apologize, and I haven't gotten it out yet.
I will say we do have plans to do a couple of, socially distanced online things. We, as of now, are not allowed on campus, but as it changes, we will change with it. But we do have a family fun night scheduled for November 13th, and we'll start advertising that Monday in our newsletter. But we're going to try and do a few things virtually until we can gear up to do a few things in person and distanced.
Yeah. Thank you, Lacey. And so sorry, I haven't even opened the email. I should probably not say that, but I will, I'll forward it to you, Lacey. And I think there is some more room for us to do things. Beth, so I haven't heard from SAC, Beth. Yeah, so I don't know. I know that, I think it's SRS is the new acronym for some of the daycare programs that are going on in limited number of schools. I know the city. Phyllis, do you want to chime in here? I know we still have the option of using Green Acres, and employees also have some options as well. Dr. Bergiardo, did you want to say anything about that?
Mr. Smith, she has.
Oh, she stepped out. Okay. So we just had a meeting yesterday, and we want to continue the, as best we can, make sure that that Green Acres program is a daycare program the city's running as an option, which has extended hours. So I think some parents are choosing to stay virtual, but go to Green Acres because they're able, and I don't know if anybody is on the call that goes there, but they're open, I think, from 8 to 5 or something like that. So, but certainly, Beth, once we hear from SAC, we'll let you know where that stands. Knowing if our teachers stay the same, making all attempts keeping teachers. We certainly want to minimize changes, and I also trust our staff and know our students, and it's also a opportunity to meet a new teacher and meet some new classmates. Daniel's run. Well, thank you, Laura. Amit, will there be a need ability to utilize patrols once the older children come back in school? I haven't seen any guidance yet about patrols, so I don't have an answer for you. Michael can write it down, but I know, Amit, that I'm not sure. I don't know if there's an answer out there yet, so that one might be delayed, but we'll make sure we have it and try to get you an answer. So again, they may not stay with the same teacher if they stay virtual. Again, we're going to have to see how the preferences break down, whether it's, for instance, a grade level with 4 teachers, it could be 2 and 2, it could be 3 and 1. We just have to see how it breaks down. Thank you, Melissa. Group B. Okay, so not streaming issues, or is it curriculum that require the group that is at home to do more asynchronous work? It's not streaming issues, it's just getting familiar with the idea that you've got students at home and in person, right? So it's more just our teachers, and I want to bring that chart up because I want to make sure that you know that our teachers are awesome. I think you've seen that through the virtual setting. So, we're going to get into this fluid and sustaining stage, but I just want to be honest with you, right? This is brand new, right? To expect our teachers to walk in and to be able to be masters at concurrent teaching, something they've never done, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to get there. We certainly want to support them with the technology and support them with any professional development we can provide to help that. Mr. Beasley was out at one of the pilot schools today, and I have some visits scheduled for next week, to tackle that piece of it. Heard AP evaluations typically done in December for second grade. Teacher changes in November. Teachers. So it is, but the evaluation, the packets oftentimes are put together by teams. Michael, Mr. Parker, do you want to chime in on this one a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, that's correct. It's the packets are put together by a team, and we always reach out to any of the teachers that the student has worked with to get input from them as well. And I know, and I'll look for the date and I'll put it in the chat. Ms. McCrodden is having the AAP Level 4 information session coming up very soon, and I'll get that date while we're finishing up.
Yeah, so that won't affect the application process for the AAP. Thank you, Megan. Yeah, 7:30 to 5:30. So yeah, currently right now, we do not have SAC going on at our school. So other questions? I am here until about 8:30. Then I need to get my son to a baseball commitment. I would say, so you're certainly free to leave the meeting if you like. Again, I appreciate the great turnout. Again, I know we don't take it lightly that kids are changing classes. We certainly know it's a credit to our staff that our teachers have built great relationships with our students and that such tight connections have been made. But we do think it is the best thing from an instructional standpoint. And so I appreciate everyone's joining us tonight. Remember to try to get that preference in by Monday's deadline. And yeah, we have some teachers on here. So yep, definitely thank our teachers. They are awesome. I don't know, Mr. Parker, did I forget anything? Or Mr. Beasley?
Nothing that I can think of, and I did just put the dates in the chat for the AAP sessions. We're doing both a evening session on Tuesday, November 10th, 7, and then a morning session on Thursday, the 12th, from 9 to 10. And the information is in the calendar that you've already received and the one that's going to be going out tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Parker.
And Chris, I'd like to add in, it's really important that the students are restarting their computers every day. There's a difference between shutting them down and restarting them. And so when you restart your computer at home, it really allows us to pick up all the updates that are necessary for instruction. And then there's other options to come into the parking lot of the school where the network is strong near door 1 and restart your student computer to pick up updates. That helps with instruction throughout each school day.
Thank you there, Mr. Beasley. Oh, and I forgot, I did this last session too. There is some very good news. If you have a 3rd or 4th grader, the Fairfax County School Board did approve new laptop purchases for all 3rd and 4th grade students. So we do anticipate those being in our building and distributed in January. And so that will also have a trickle-down effect, and we'll be able to replace some computers, especially in the younger grades that some of our older machines are. We'll be able to switch some of those out. So yes, good news. And Lawrence, you had a question there from Megan. Do you want the kids to sign on and then click restart?
So from the home, it's just a restart. It doesn't matter if you sign on or sign off. Just want to restart the computer each day to make sure it's a fresh start at the start of each instructional day. From the parking lot, yes, you do want to always sign on with your ID for the student and reboot the computer while you're in the parking lot for the network signal.
Okay, thank you, Lawrence. Jacob, are you talking about the amount of email in the Gmail account?
Yes, I am. the notifications every time something gets posted.
Yes.
We're trying to, they sent something for our middle schooler, and that really helped. I don't know what he did. They sent it directly to him, and he changed some of the settings so he doesn't get notified every time. He only gets like notified for returned work,
Okay.
rather than every time something's posted, like material or assignments.
It looks like Mrs. Denton said she will email you. Told you. Awesome staff. Thank you, Aaron. Oh, and it looks like Mr. L. Yeah, I should know. I did watch the videos. So, all right. So Miss Denton's going to take care of you. All right. Any other questions? Yeah, we can do that. Can you do that, Aaron? Can you send us, or maybe if it's a Mr. L video, I don't know what's easier. Either we can post the video or the whatever Aaron has. So Aaron will get that to us. Okay. I see some students. Hello. Earlier session, we had students join us when they were on break. My goal is to be the last one out. So if you're waiting for me to leave, I'm going to be waiting here until you leave. So. But again, you're free to ask questions or put them in the chat. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Miss Lucas. Hey, Brian, could you tell me what, I'll go back to that slide, but also what grade are your kids?
Hey, yeah, I'm under my husband's name.
Hey, sorry.
No, how would you know? I didn't realize it until right now. Connell's in 2nd grade.
So give me a second to get back to that. So I'm going to give you the right date. So no later than November 16th.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I must.
We'll try to, if we can do it sooner, we will, but no later than that.
Oh yeah, sure. No, I figured I had missed it, but just thought I would, since we had some time, I thought I'd ask.
Yeah. And we'll do that. And again, just know that again, if something comes up in those 2 weeks where they end up not physically coming back, we will not officially make that change. So, all right. Any other questions? Yep, you're welcome, Megan.
Mr. Smith, we have one more question there from Dinesh.
Oh, in the chat? Sorry.
Yes.
So yes, that's driven by the class or virtual. The only one that the only teacher that may know for sure that they're teaching virtual is a teacher who had an accommodation to do that. So, but most of our teachers are willing to do either.
Hey, just a follow up. So is this by default, like the current teacher is going to do in class teaching?
Nope. No, there is no default. We will take the what grade level is your
This
child?
is kindergarten.
Kindergarten. Yeah. So So we don't have any teacher that automatically qualifies for that automatic virtual assignment. So we'll see what the preferences are, and then we will make the decision from there of how many classes we need, both virtual and in person.
I don't know, like back in July, did we share the stats on how many were, what the preference was between virtual and in person?
I didn't share that, but I can give that. You talk about overall in the school, I will tell you it was roughly came out to about 55% in person and 45% virtual. I will tell you that in kindergarten, it was similar. There was more in person at the time than virtual. It wasn't as big as again, it was probably roughly about that 55-45 split. And we had some other grade levels. Just depends on the grade level. Some grade levels had a 60-40 split virtual, and some had a 60-40 split in person.
And did we also say that it based on how the things is set up, looks like in class, in person is going to be a little bit more robust than virtual. I mean, of course, I mean, there's the impact of, face-to-face interaction, but in addition to that, I mean, there were other factors that was kind of tilting the scale towards in person more.
You're talking about the July preference or now?
Now.
And I'm not here to convince you either way. What I would say is, to be fair to our teachers, that certainly the virtual setting right now, our teachers are going to be able to hit the ground running pretty quickly. They'll need to get to know some new students in their class, but that teacher has been doing basically what they've been doing the past few months, right? The trick in the in-person setting, again, the in-person, the 2 days when they're in person is going to be, I think for the most part, a relief for our teachers, right? Like that's what they're used to doing, right? Teaching in person. It's just how to mesh that online group in. And we certainly, I think quickly will become proficient in that, but I think I need to lay all the information out. I don't want to mislead you and say it's going to be, they're going to be proficient the first day with the online kids. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. So, I mean, would you recommend reaching out to the teachers?
Well, I'm not going to recommend.
No, I mean, figuring out, what their preference is. I mean, or what they have,
I told them today they can certainly, my advice to them was, they may have a preference, but I can't guarantee their preference until I see numbers, right? So, I would hate for them to tell you that their preference is to be online and you choose online, and then I come back next week and tell them, well, based on numbers, I need you in person, right? So, you can ask them. I sent them my guidance today, and so, what I would say with my parent hat on, I would say, number one, if you're going to come back in person, you have to be comfortable with, with your child being around other people, right? We're going to do our best to make sure kids wear a mask and stay 6 feet apart, but there are going to be times, right? Just because they're kids, right? That's there's going to be times where we can't always enforce that every second of the day. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then I think is your, just if you're ready to do that, I think in person is more of an option, right? I think certainly for some of our parents, it's a daycare issue, right? They need to get to work. So that's another consideration. So, I would say, me personally, I have an older student. I'm going to send him back, and it's not because I think one program is stronger instructionally than the other. I'm sending him back to be around people. He's a people kid and likes being around people, and I'm okay with that. So I would, again, I wish I could be more specific, but it's truly a chicken and egg type of thing here.
Right.
We're certainly doing our best if we don't have to move the kids, we certainly, are going to do everything we can to keep as much continuity as we can.
Okay, well, thanks. One last thing. I think
Sure.
the virtual ends at around 2:25 or so. And then on the schedule you shared, I think you said it goes till 3:45. Is that because of the busing and all that
Well,
stuff?
technically, again, our day does go to 3:45. We're giving some students are working in small groups. I think our kindergartners were siding on giving them probably less of them are probably working in small groups. So, and again, that may change for the online kids as well, because we're losing those Mondays, right? So there may be some things that we incorporate in that last hour, but we're certainly mindful of the time that young kids are spending on the computer, and we want to navigate that as well. So again, technically, whether they're online or in person, technically the school day ends at 3:45.
Okay, maybe one more last. I said last earlier, but
yeah,
so
no problem.
when will we know who the teacher are?
Yeah, for kindergarten, it's going to be that unfortunately kindergarten is the tightest time crunch, right? So
Mhm.
the first thing I'm going to do Tuesday morning is actually I'll be on a plane Tuesday morning, but when I get back Tuesday, as soon as I get back, is to start running the numbers, particularly for kindergarten, to start to get that organized. So no later than November 9th, we'll let you know, but we might be able to let you know sooner.
Okay. Could you repeat that again? What is the date? I missed it.
November 9th. So
November.
a week from Monday. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Cool.
the in-person students, the new classes would start the following week on the 17th.
Okay. Great. Cool. Thank you
All
very
right.
much. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
So I see one more, Gail and Sophia. Are either of you have a question? They may not be on here, just forgot. So I'm going to remove them. So thanks. Gail. Okay. Yes. Sorry, that was a question. If you're still here, Gail, that's a yes. We will send everything out tomorrow. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Parker. Thank you, Mr. Beasley.
All right. Have a good night.
All right.
Glad to be here. All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Gail and Sophia, last call for a question.